They didn't even whisper it. They said it out loud, like it was obvious, like it was practical advice meant to save everyone embarrassment. "Why don't you sit at the kids' table?" my aunt said, smiling thinly. "You'll be more comfortable there." The room went quiet for just half a second. Not long enough for anyone to object, but long enough for everyone to understand what had just happened. Plates clinked. Someone cleared their throat. My cousins avoided my eyes. My mother pretended to adjust the napkins, and my father stared at the centerpiece as if it had suddenly become fascinating. The kids' table was across the room. Smaller chairs. Plastic cups. Crumbs already scattered like evidence of chaos. Laughter too loud, too careless, because children are allowed to be noisy. Adults aren't supposed to be. I looked at the empty seat they were pointing to, then back at the long dining table where the adults sat. Crystal glasses, polished cutlery, conversations about investments, property, promotions. Decisions were made at that table. Respect lived there. And they had decided I didn't belong. I could have argued. I could have reminded them that I was the one who helped organize this dinner, that I'd arrived early, that I'd stayed late, that I'd quietly handled things no one else wanted to deal with. But I'd learned something over the years. When people decide your value for you, arguing only confirms their confidence. So I smiled. "Sure," I said lightly, as if it didn't matter at all. "Whatever works." The relief in the room was immediate. You could feel it. Tension released. The moment smoothed over. My uncle laughed and launched into a story about a business deal. Wine was poured. Conversations resumed. I picked up my plate and walked to the kids' table without another word. The chair was too small. My knees nearly touched the underside of the table. A little girl stared at me openly, then went back to coloring. A boy kicked the table leg accidentally and said sorry without really meaning it. I sat down, set my plate in front of me, and took a slow breath. I wasn't angry. That surprised even me. What I felt instead was something colder and steadier. Awareness. The kind that settles in when you finally stop hoping people will see you differently and start seeing them clearly instead. From where I sat, I could still hear the adult table. They spoke freely now, unconcerned. Someone joked about real responsibilities. Someone else laughed about how not everyone was cut out for ambition. My name wasn't mentioned, but I could feel myself being used as context. As contrast. I ate slowly. Chewed carefully. Let the sounds blur together. No one noticed when my phone vibrated. I glanced down casually. A message notification. Then another. Then 3 more. All work-related. All time-sensitive. I didn't open them yet. I let them wait. Timing matters more than urgency. Dessert was announced about 40 minutes later. Chocolate tarts. Fruit platters. Espresso for the adults. The kids were promised ice cream after. That was when my uncle stood up, tapping his glass lightly. "Before dessert," he said, "I just want to say how proud I am of this family. Of what we've built. Of where everyone is headed." Polite applause followed. I took a sip of water and finally unlocked my phone. One of the messages was from a number saved without a name. The kind you remember, even if you don't label it. "We need confirmation now. Board is waiting." I typed back a single sentence. "Proceed. I'll join remotely." Across the room, my aunt laughed at something my cousin said. My mother nodded along. My father raised his glass. They still thought the evening belonged to them. They didn't know that by the time dessert arrived, the table assignments would stop mattering. And neither would their assumptions. The adults' table grew louder as dessert approached. Conversations shifted from polite updates to confident declarations. Someone bragged about a recent acquisition. Someone else complained about taxes like it was a badge of success. Laughter rolled easily now that the uncomfortable moment had passed and I had been neatly relocated where they thought I belonged. From the kids' table, I watched everything. It's funny what you notice when you're no longer trying to be included. I saw how my uncle leaned forward when talking about money, how my aunt nodded too quickly, desperate to seem relevant. I saw my mother laugh half a second late, always checking other faces before committing to an expression. I saw my father sit straighter whenever someone important entered the room. Power habits are visible when you stop being intimidated by them. My phone vibrated again. This time, I answered. I didn't stand. I didn't excuse myself. I simply put one finger to my ear and listened while pretending to be very interested in a child's drawing of a crooked house. Yes, I said quietly. I'm here. A pause. Then a familiar voice, calm but tense. We're ready when you are. The numbers are locked. Legal is standing by. Give me 5 minutes, I replied. And make sure the regional lead is patched in. Understood. I ended the call and set my phone face down. At the adult table, my uncle noticed the movement. His eyes flicked toward me, then away, dismissive. To him, it probably looked like a work call from someone who shouldn't be interrupting family time. Someone who didn't have the luxury to disconnect. He was wrong about that too. The desserts arrived. Plates were set down with care. The smell of chocolate filled the room. Coffee was poured. The kids were promised ice cream after everyone finished. The adults settled back in their chairs, satisfied, full, relaxed. That's when my aunt decided to do it again. She glanced over at me, smiled sweetly, and said loudly enough for the table to hear, "You okay over there? Don't worry, one day you'll be sitting with us." A few people laughed. Not cruelly. Casually. The worst kind. I met her eyes and smiled back. "I'm fine," I said. "Really?" She nodded, pleased. Lesson reinforced. Order restored. Then my phone rang. This time, it wasn't subtle. The ringtone cut cleanly through the room, sharp and unmistakable. Conversations paused. Forks hovered mid-air. My uncle frowned, irritated. I looked at the screen, then stood. "Sorry," I said calmly. "I need to take this." I walked away from the kids' table and toward the side of the room, not rushing, not apologizing. The call connected the moment I lifted the phone. "We're live," the voice said. "Board, legal, and partners are all present." "Put me on speaker," I replied. I turned slightly, enough that the adult table could see me, though I wasn't facing them directly. "Yes," I said. "You can proceed with the agenda." The room didn't go silent yet. People were still pretending not to listen. But their attention was already slipping. As discussed, the voice continued, amplified just enough to carry, "The final approval requires your confirmation." I glanced toward the adult table now. My uncle had stopped chewing. My aunt's smile froze. My mother's eyes narrowed, confused. "You have it," I said. "Move forward." "A beat." "Confirmed," the voice replied. "Congratulations." That word landed differently than applause ever could. Someone at the adult table laughed awkwardly. "Everything okay?" my cousin asked loudly, trying to reclaim control of the moment. "Yes," I said, ending the call and slipping my phone back into my pocket. "Everything's settled." Dessert sat untouched for a second longer. My uncle cleared his throat. "What was that about?" I looked at him evenly. "Work." He waved a hand. "Well, don't let it distract you. This is family time." I nodded. "Of course." But something had shifted. You could feel it. The room wasn't relaxed anymore. Eyes followed me as I returned to my seat, not the kids' table this time, but a chair pulled slightly away from it, halfway between both worlds. I didn't ask permission. No one stopped me. My phone buzzed once more. A message preview lit up the screen. Press release scheduled. External notifications sent. I didn't open it. Because now, it wasn't about what I knew. It was about what they were about to find out. The shift was subtle at first. The kind that only happens when people sense they may have misjudged something important but aren't ready to admit it yet. Forks scraped plates without rhythm. Conversations restarted and stopped again. Dessert cooled untouched. My uncle leaned back in his chair, studying me with a look that tried to be casual and failed. "So," he said, forcing a chuckle, "what exactly do you do these days?" There it was. The first crack. I didn't rush to answer. I cut a small piece of the tart, tasted it, nodded approvingly, and then wiped my fork clean before speaking. "I manage things," I said simply. My aunt scoffed lightly. "Everyone manages something." "Yes," I replied. "Some people just don't realize how much." That earned a few nervous laughs. My mother's smile tightened. My father shifted in his seat, suddenly alert. My phone vibrated again. This time, I didn't look at it. I already knew what it would say. The dining room door opened quietly, and a man in a tailored suit stepped inside, scanning the room until his eyes found me. He paused, then walked directly toward our table, ignoring everyone else. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Are you the one who approved the final terms?" I stood. "Yes," I replied. The room froze. My uncle blinked. "Approved what?" The man glanced around, clearly confused by the tension. "The acquisition," he said. "The one finalized 10 minutes ago. I was asked to deliver the confirmation in person." My aunt laughed once, sharply. "That's not funny." He frowned. "I'm not joking." Silence fell hard this time. Real silence. The kind where no one reaches for their glass. "The board has been waiting weeks," the man continued. "Your timing was impressive." My mother stared at me as if she were seeing a stranger wearing my face. "What is he talking about?" I met her eyes calmly. "The company Uncle's been negotiating with," I said. "The one everyone's been whispering about. I'm the one who finalized it." My uncle shot to his feet. "That's impossible." The man checked his folder. "No, sir. It's quite clear. Majority stake. Remote approval. Everything's processed." The room erupted into overlapping voices. Questions. Denials. Someone laughed hysterically. Someone else swore under their breath. I stayed standing. "I didn't say anything earlier," I said evenly, cutting through the noise, because I didn't need to. "You'd already decided who I was." My aunt's face flushed. "You were sitting at the kids' table." I nodded. "Because that's where you told me to sit." My uncle opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time all night, he had nothing ready. I didn't take offense, I continued. "I took notes." The man in the suit cleared his throat. "Should I?" "You can go," I said gently. "Thank you." He nodded once and left, the door closing softly behind him like a final punctuation mark. No one moved. Dessert was forgotten now. The kids were quiet, sensing something serious had happened. My family stared at me, recalculating years of assumptions in real time. My mother finally spoke. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" I exhaled slowly. "Because every time I tried to grow, you asked me to stay small. Tonight was just consistent." My father looked down at his hands. "We thought we were helping." "You were helping yourselves feel comfortable," I replied. "I just stopped doing that." My aunt sank back into her chair. My uncle rubbed his temples, the weight of realization settling in. Not just about the deal. About everything. I picked up my jacket. "Where are you going?" my cousin asked weakly. I smiled, not unkindly. "I have an early morning." I paused at the doorway and looked back once. "You told me to sit at the kids' table," I said quietly. So I did. I listened. I waited. And by dessert, you finally saw who I really was. No one followed me. Outside, the night air felt cool and honest. My phone buzzed again. Congratulations, confirmations, plans for the morning. I silenced it and kept walking. They would talk about this night for years. They would rewrite it, soften it, explain it to others in ways that made it easier to live with. But they would never forget it. And I wouldn't need to remind them.